Hey you guys, it is day number 13 of 21 days of prayer for your business. Another day. Again, like I say, every single day you keep coming back and I am so crazy thankful. Now, I don't know if you're watching this live or if you are catching one of the YouTube videos that's somewhere on the World Wide Web. Maybe a friend shared it with you, but whatever brought you to this video today, we are crazy excited that you are joining us for the ride. So what is this whole 21 days of prayer? What are we doing? What is this about? Well, back last year, I decided to take my friends on social media through a little series of 21 days of prayer for your business. And we walked through it together. Every morning I would get up, I would write a little bit on a blog post. I would do a Periscope at the time. I don't know if that's even relevant for today when you're watching it, but it was where you could film a video live and play it for the world. And we spent that time together, and then I would upload it to YouTube, and it then lived on my blog. And a crazy thing happened over the course of that year. I had a lot of people that found it for whatever way. Maybe somebody had walked through it and they shared it with a friend. But a lot of people started watching this series. And when I went to a business convention for the company that I was with, person after person just kept coming up to me saying, oh my goodness, like that time helped me so much. You need to put it into a book format. So this past year, I made it a point to be intentional and to write it all down and compile it into a little book. So today, you're going to hear me talking about that book from time to time. It is called 21 Days. Look, it's getting all dirty. That's showing that I'm using it. 21 Days of Prayer for your business. Now, here's the secret, though. You don't need the book to go along with the series. We are just glad that you're watching the video, and you can get just as much out of the videos. That's how we did it last year. So don't let that be an excuse. Don't let whenever you see us talking about that, you think, oh, I don't have that book. There's no way that I can go on with this. No, we want you to stick it out. Go grab a notebook. Go grab a pen. And when you do, there's going to be times today where I give you some homework maybe. Don't let homework freak you out. And basically, long story short, we don't want this to be something that you're just hearing. Maybe words that you're reading or, words that you're hearing come in one ear and go out the other. We really want you to apply it to your life. We want you to kind of dig a little deep. We're going to get a little bit nosy with you, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions that you're like, that's really getting up in my business, and I don't think that you need to know that. Well, it's okay. I'm not going to be peeking over your shoulder, and I'm not going to be reading what you're writing, but it's really good to apply this to your life. So let me give you a quick recap of what we discussed if you've missed it. Now, I would love for you to go back and watch the other videos. You're watching day 13, but we've had day 1 through 12 already take place. And these videos and the topics in the book are really meant to build upon each other, okay? So what we learn in one day really kind of spills over and builds into the next day, so on and so on. So a brief recap. Day number 1, we talked all about giving God control. On this journey, it's okay. We can embrace God into our business. We're going to give him control and let him have his way in our lives. Day number 2, we talked all about finding freedom. You can't move forward and you can't find success in business and life if you are so stuck in the past and your hurts and your failures and your mistakes. We're going to really kind of even dive into that today a little bit in our topic. Day number 3, we talked about how you are uniquely made. You are. Don't tell me you're not. You are uniquely made. And when you begin to figure out the ways that you're uniquely made, then that is a fantastic way now on day number 4 to begin to catch a vision. And you may not see what's at the end of the road, but letting the Lord be a lamp unto your feet and a light into your path and guiding your steps each step of the way, that's vision. That's kind of a direction of where you're going. And sometimes you might not have a clue where you're going, but if you can see one step in front of the other, that's day number 4, catching a vision. Day number 5 is time to be intentional, man. Now that we're understanding a little bit about how we're wired and we're beginning to catch a vision, we need to do something, right? We can't just sit around on the sidelines. We need to get in the game and we need to be intentional. So we start becoming intentional. Then day 6, we talk about always growing. Growing is a good thing. The day you quit growing, it's kind of the day you stop, you plateau, you're parked right there and you're not going anywhere. So that's day number 6. Day number 7 is vital for success because we talk about don't give up. The day you give up is the day you give up and you kind of have stopped. Just like you quit growing, then you give up on this dream or this vision or whatever, and that's where you're at. Day 7, don't give up. Day 8, we talked about living a life of worship. Do you know that when you figure out your unique design and you use it for the benefit of others and you help others, really, I believe you are beginning to live a life of worship. Worship is more than just worship music. Maybe that you've grown up in church and you go, that's the time before the preaching. No, worship, we can worship the Lord with our money, with our talents, with anything we have. So that was day number 8. Day number 9 was living a life of excellence, like embracing excellence in your life. Now, don't freak out. Don't freak out. I think that was it's getting in my head. That was day 9, right? Let me flip to day 9. Yes. Embracing excellence it was. We want you to embrace it. And there is a fine line between embracing excellence and then what we talked about on day 10, which was perfectionism weighs you down. Perfectionism, every single time, it is like this weight on your ankle that is dragging you down. Like if you're out in an ocean, it is like somebody has tied this weight on you and it is dragging you down. We have got to kick perfectionism to the curb. If we want to find success in life and business, we got to get rid of perfectionism. And then day number 11 was creative problem solving. Creative problem solving. Whenever you see obstacles coming your way, does it freak you out? Does it like, oh my gosh, I'm paralyzed, the sky's falling, this is the end is drawing near? Or does it propel you to be creative and figure out a solution that gets you moving in the right direction? That was day number 11. And yesterday, day number 12, we talked about building a community. And building a community is so important for success in business, and I think just overall in life, is you are better together. And we talked all about that yesterday, which leads to today. Do you realize you can walk through all of that? Oh yeah, you can give God control. You're finding freedom. You know how you're uniquely made. You've got a vision. Oh my gosh, I know where I am going. I'm being intentional. Oh, I'm being intentional. I'm embracing all that I'm learning, Monique, into my life. Game on. I'm growing. I'm committing to growing. Yes, I am. I am not going to give up. I understand how I'm living a life of worship. You are doing all of that, embracing excellence, being who you are with the gifts and talents, and you're using it with the resources and the tools that you have on hand, and you are kicking perfectionism to the curb. You're starting to build your creative problem solving. Then what happens next? You're building a community, and what happens? Insert dramatic music. Dun, dun, dun. I really can't sing, but do you know what happens then? Conflict steps in. Me? The only one? Am I the only one who deals with that? No? Have you been there? You are finally moving in the right direction. Oh my gosh, game on. I have got this thing. And then conflict happens. Whenever you start building a community, it is inevitable. What did we say? You've got imperfect people dealing with imperfect people. That is a recipe for disaster. And so while community is very important and it's so good and vital for your success, it also can bring a little bit of conflict to the table. You know, I mean, if you've never experienced it, you're probably on a deserted island, and whenever you find your way off of that island and you get back around people, you're probably going to run into it just like everybody else, okay? So today we're going to talk about that. if we're going to face it, because I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but you are somewhere, if you're not currently right now slap dab in the middle of it, or if you have not recently gone through an issue that maybe the wounds are still a little fresh, then if you're not can say that that's what you're experiencing right now, then I'm telling you, right around the corner, you need to tuck this information in the back of your mind, because you need it, because you will face conflict. I'm so sorry. I know I'm supposed to be uplifting today, right? Well, the good news is that we are going to figure out how to survive it. Just because we face conflict does not mean that it has to destroy us. It doesn't mean that it has to kill us. Even though it feels like it at times, right? It feels like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I do believe that you can make it out on the other side. We're going to talk about that. You know, conflict is hands down one of the most difficult things that we will face on our journey with business. I really do believe it. And especially it's really hard for those people with certain personalities who are very much the people pleaser, or very much the one that just does not like conflict, you know, and really who does. It can be detrimental to you continuing to move forward, because you face it and you go, oh, you know what? It's not worth it. Like, it is not worth it. I would rather not have to deal with it. So let's walk through it together. You know, my eyes were completely opened to something with this topic of conflict when I was watching a Pixar movie. You know, I've told you I love Disney, and so I don't know if you've seen this movie, but it's the movie Up, and I talk about it a good bit in the book. And if you've got the book, we're on page 94, and if you haven't seen the movie, you've had ample time to see it. You've had plenty of time to see it. So I'm going to give you some spoilers. I'm so sorry. If you just really don't want spoilers, then you can go ahead and click pause and go watch the movie and come back. But Up was, you know, just starts off just like any great Pixar movie. Pixar is fantastic about grabbing your heart right at the beginning of the movie, and then they rip it out, and it's like they throw it on the ground and they like stomp on it. Does anybody else feel like Pixar movies do that to you? I mean, you got to know, if you want a good ugly face cry, go watch a Pixar movie. I mean, man, they just rip your heart out. Well, they prove to not disappoint and do the exact same thing in the movie Up. So let me tell you what happens at the beginning stages of the movie Up. You've got this sweet little boy named Carl Fredricksen. He's such a cute little kid, and he meets this little girl who is so adorable named Ellie. Oh, they make the best little pals, and they start hanging out and playing together. They found this little house that they go and they play in, and you know, they begin to get a little bit older, and wow, you know, I think I kind of like you. Well, I think I kind of like you. And you start seeing their story unfold before your eyes, and these cute little kids are getting a little bit older, and wow, now they start falling in love with each other. Well, oh my goodness, the amazing day comes where they get married, and you see their cute little wedding, and now they're building their home together, and they go and they put their handprints on the mailbox, and they're putting flowers in the front yard, and they're decorating their house, and their life continues to go on, and oh wow, look, oh, we're expecting a baby. Oh, how precious. We're expecting a baby, and then you start seeing, wait, oh wow, they're in the hospital. What's going on? Oh, Ellie looks sad. Oh, so we see that they've lost the baby, and now one thing, as the story unfolds, we realize apparently they don't ever have any children after that. We don't know if she just can't have children or what the problem is there. And the story keeps unfolding, and they continue their life of adventures. They have dreams. Ellie has this great dream of going on this adventure somewhere, a destination, and they start working towards it, and they've got this little jar that they put money in, and they start saving up, and the money builds, and then all of a sudden something crazy happens with their house, and they've got to take money out of it, and builds, and something else happens, and you're watching their story unfold. They're living this great life together, and they start getting a little bit older, and you see them still going off for picnics, And then one day you see, wait, Ellie, there seems like she's really tired and maybe she's a little sick, and the next thing you know, Ellie's laying in bed, and the next thing you know after that, Ellie has passed away. True Pixar. Man, rip your heart out, and you're like, I paid to come see this, right? Ellie passes away and Mr. Fredrickson's all alone, and now he's grown very old, and his demeanor and his expression, he's very sad, and he normally is hanging his head down low as he walks and he shuffles along, and he's sad, and he's living in this house that him and Ellie built tons of memories in, and you know, when it rains, it pours in life, and while he's in the middle of his hurt, all of these buildings start being built up around his house. Construction starts coming in closer and closer, these big buildings all around him, and you start seeing the story unfold that, wow, Mr. Fredrickson, we would love to buy your house. And you see little his house that him and Ellie built right there in the middle of this massive city that's being built around him. And Mr. Fredrickson does not want to let go of his house. Oh no, I mean, this is the only memories that he has left of his life with Ellie. Why would he ever want to sell his house? Why would he ever want to get rid of this place, right? And so he says, no. He starts getting mad. No, I'm not getting rid of this house. You're crazy. And he looks like this grumpy old man. What's his deal? Geez, we're offering you a lot of money. Take it. Like, I mean, what is your deal? It's a house, you know? And he's grumpy. And then one day it happens. He's got all of this hurt. He's got all of this sadness. He doesn't want to let go of something that seems like it's being taken away from him. And what happens? He walks outside to get his mail. There's people all gathered around, and a construction worker is backing up his truck, and he backs over the mailbox that him and Ellie had put their handprints on. Mr. Fredrickson loses it. I mean, he completely snaps. He walks up to the guy, he picks up his cane, and he hits him across the head. People are standing around watching. They look at him and they're like, what? What did he just do? That man is horrible. The man starts bleeding where he hit him across the head. Blood is pouring down his face. Everybody's looking on in disbelief. And the second Mr. Fredrickson does that, it's like this look on his face goes from, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. What did I just do? I cannot believe I just did that. Wait, I just hit this man. I just hurt this man. And he immediately turns around and he shuffles as fast as he can back into his house, and he slams the door. And he's embarrassed. He's sad. He can't believe this has happened. And in that moment, as everybody stood around looking in disbelief at this horrific act that this horrible, mean old grumpy man that has to be evil, this thought went through my mind instantly. That right there is exactly what we live out every single day in our life. We look on in disbelief as this person hurts us, or as this person hurts this other person. Conflict. We look at it and we go, oh my gosh, what a horrible person. Did you see what so-and-so just did to me? I mean, hello, they are evil. They completely are a horrible, no good, lousy individual. Did you see what so-and-so did to so-and-so? Yeah, they're a loser, complete loser in life. I mean, what in the world? But why do we look at Mr. Fredrickson a little differently than the other people standing around that day looked at him? The other people only knew his present situation. They only knew that present hurt, that lashing out. They only knew that one thing. But you and I, why is it hard for me to even tell this make-believe story to you guys without it really makes this, I've got this emotion that's wanting to come out and bust out an ugly face cry, like many of you probably did when you watched the movie, right? Why is it we see that unfold and we boo-hoo cry. But yet these other people are watching it unfold and they're thinking, what a horrible person. It's because you and I know the backstory of Mr. Fredrickson. You and I know that he is hurting deeply. You and I know that what just happened with that mailbox, it had some meaning. I mean, that was one of the last tangible things that he had from him and Ellie. See, we see the backstory. We look a little deeper. We don't just look at the surface. We're seeing where his true hurts are. And I would dare to say that pretty much every single thing and every single person that you and I deal with that is conflict related, where we've been hurt. Do you remember the times? Can you think of times that you've been hurt? Really, can you think of times? Can you think of times where someone lashed out to you? Can you think of times where you lashed out to someone else? And it hurt. I mean, we saw the blood rolling down that guy's face. It wasn't good. Has it happened to you? I'm sure it hurt. And you've hurt someone else. But do we stop for a second and begin to wonder, I wonder what the backstory, what's the backstory of this? Because there's got to be one, right? I mean, is it just me? Am I the only one that allows things to build, and then one day you just lash out? You know, guys, I think the very first thing that we have to do in the process of surviving conflict is understanding that there's probably a backstory. You know, have you ever heard the saying, hurting people hurt people? It really is true. The hurts of other individuals, the things that are deep, the insecurities that are built up, it really does come to the surface and it gets really ugly fast. You know, I think the very first thing you and I have to understand is that we need to look at people in a different light. And so maybe we go to God and we say, Lord, help me with this. Show me, give me a little glimpse into what this could be. You know, I told you the story earlier in our time together that there was a girl that sent me a message that said, you know, she posted something on her Facebook and somebody kind of made a sarcastic remark to her. And immediately that would have usually shut her down, but she did just this. She reached out to that person, sent them a message, and started a conversation and realized this person's going through a hard time. This person's hurting. This person may need just a little bit more grace. The very first thing in the homework that I give you to kind of expound on a little bit is on page 95, and I'm going to read it to you. It just says, can I throw a question your way? Do you feel like you can relate to Mr. Fredrickson? Maybe his story is your story. Your spirit is crushed. Your hurt is deep. You feel alone. When Mr. Fredrickson hit that driver, you could see the expression on his face immediately change. He went from being angry to being embarrassed. He didn't set out to hurt that man that day. It was a reaction out of his pain. He was hurting and he reacted with hurt. Have you experienced that too? Have you ever hurt someone and it was done out of a deep-rooted pain or insecurity you were dealing with in life? If you feel comfortable, write that out in the space below or in the notebook if you don't have a book. I challenge you today to really analyze your life, analyze the situations that you're going through, and write some of those times down. Kind of look back and see. You know, I look back now to when I was hurt back in the day with the scrapbooking, when I lost everything, and one of the main people who it really did hurt me, when I can look back now and look at that backstory and look at really kind of where that came from, I can kind of understand some deep-rooted insecurities that were under the surface there, and I could see to where that kind of this situation threw it out on the table, and it's really crystal clear now that at the time it was just hurt. But it's very much easy to be it's more easy to be forgiving when you can get a glimpse into a backstory. It gives you a little heart. It pulls out the heartstrings And it's easier to forgive. It's easier to be understanding. So ask the Lord, open my eyes to this. So first, look at that time, okay? The next thing that I want you to understand is that some of Mr. Fredrickson's deep-rooted pain came from the fact that he felt like he let Ellie down in life. You remember me telling you she wanted to go on this great adventure, right? She wanted to go on this great adventure. And that's, through the course of their life, he built up and tried giving her this adventure, but it never ended up happening. And he felt like he let Ellie down. So not only is he missing her, not only is he lonely, this love of his life, he felt like he let down. He disappointed. Remember, I said that the other day. Many times, that deep-rooted fear of what we deal with is that we don't want to disappoint. So I ask you here, can you relate to that? Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like you let someone down? And you know what? If you continue to watch that movie, later at the end, he finds the scrapbook that she kept. And he revisits all of those memories, from playing to getting married, to building the home, to becoming pregnant, to losing the child. It replays all of that. The adventures that she wants to go on. And there it is. Somehow, he drops it or something happens. I can't remember. And the page flips. And he begins to see, whoa, wait. Her greatest adventure, she writes, is the life that she lived with Mr. Fredrickson. And so I so get caught up in this. I'm so sorry. It's very emotional, right? No, he didn't let her down. Absolutely not. Their life together, it wasn't that destination. It wasn't that bucket list trip that she wanted to go on. It was their life together. That was her greatest adventure. And when he saw that, it was so freeing when he realized that he did not let her down. It was like he got a little pep in his step. It was like, well, what? I didn't let her down. What is that for you? Have you felt like you've disappointed? Have you felt like you've let someone down? I want you to write that out. Dig deep. Grab your notebook. Write it in the book. Figure out those times where you feel like you let someone down. I can tell you for me, I was telling this story. I was telling at an event that I put on a couple of years ago. Actually, almost 2 years ago, in just a few weeks. And I'd only been with the business, so that my journey would have only been 2 years in. You remember my story from just not losing it all and not really having anything, and then going back and rebuilding through my stages of being a nurse, and then only to quit work as a nurse and at times being really hard again. And so I was telling my story, and before I went on stage and I did the talk, I was going over the talk in front of a small group of my friends. And I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to quit saying I'm sorry. Jeremiah said, quit saying you're sorry when I get emotional. But it's real emotion. And then I usually apologize. And so I'm not going to apologize. But Elena was in there. Alyssa and Elena were in there as I was telling this story. And I was just telling our history of losing everything and how it was hard. And how when I worked as a nurse, we were down to one car. And Jeremiah, my mom and dad, my mom would have to drive me to work because Jeremiah worked during the day. I would work the 3 to 11 shift. My mom would drive me to work, and then my mom would watch the girls for the rest of the day. And then Jeremiah would go pick up the girls when he got off work. And then I would normally get off work around 11ish, 11:30 maybe. And Jeremiah would scoop the girls up. They were really little, and they would still be in their PJs. He would scoop them up, put them in the car, and they would have to come get me. And that was every single night because we were just down to one car, and that's kind of the life that we lived. And, you sit and you look at that period of your time, and you think that you're doing this big disservice, and you feel like you're letting your family down, and you feel like you're not giving enough, or maybe they're not having the childhood that you had, and are they missing out on something? And after I told that story, the girls came up to me and were like, we had no clue times were tough during that time. We had no clue. Like, we didn't think anything was bad. It was a fun time. Like, actually, we loved it because we would stay up late and we would watch Andy Griffith with Dad. And we knew that because we didn't have cable, because we couldn't afford it. So they would watch PBS and they would watch the Andy Griffith show. And when it would go off, they knew that it was time to go get Mom. And Jeremiah would go put them in the car and they would come. And that was just the life they lived. And they never thought it was bad. And they never felt like I was disappointing them in life. But that was something that I felt. And sometimes we let those insecurities define us and weigh us down. And I just want you to know that that is not the case. I heard the girls telling my dad downstairs, we were discussing, or maybe my dad was telling the story that when he lost everything, he had a motorcycle at the time, and little did I know, he was driving, they had this little street by their house that had all these woods, and my dad would drive the girls on his motorcycle, which, man, I don't know if I like that, but he would drive them on his motorcycle through the woods, and whenever he lost it all, he lost his motorcycle. So when he had the cab, that was one of the things that he said. He felt like, oh my goodness, like this is going to be so disappointing to the girls, that because they loved riding the motorcycle through the woods there, and they would be like on this adventure. But when Dad got the cab, the girls, little did he know, they would go through and they would drive through that little wooded area, and they were acting like they were on a safari, and they would have the little CB thing, and they would be like talking in it like they were on a safari and they were giving a tour. And so while my dad had these things of feeling like maybe this was going to let them down, really, they knew no different. And so I want you to see that played a huge part of this internal insecurity and issue in Mr. Fredrickson's life, was this feeling as if he let someone down. When I look at a lot of the conflicts and the things that I have even faced since I have been on this journey the last 4 years that have come up and that have reared its ugly head to the surface, is when I feel like I have let someone down, when I feel like I have not been enough, when I feel like maybe people are just a little upset with me. Those insecurities then start building up, and then they start making me react in a manner that is just really not healthy, honestly. And then if something comes to the table, I lash out because I've let these insecurities build, and then it gets ugly when you snap, just like Mr. Fredrickson. So the very first thing, right there after you go through the first question, then I want you to write out, have you felt like you've let people down? Do you feel like you've disappointed? And let's discuss that, and let's write it out, because you know what? It's probably not as bad as you think it is. Just like with me and my story, my dad, and then also here you see with Ellie and Mr. Fredrickson. So what can we do? Because, we don't want to have to continue to go through this, right? We don't want to continue to lash out and hurt others. And we want to look at people in a different light whenever we face conflict. So let's go there, shall we? The very first thing you can do again is ask the Lord for help. Lord, help me. Open my eyes. Lord, give me a heart for this other person. Even though I may not see what they're going through right now, Lord, that's how I pray for this person. Whatever it is, whatever that deep-rooted hurt is, whatever it is, Lord, I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. And so, Lord, I pray that you help me have grace and mercy and understanding, and you help them get through. That's how you pray. That's how it makes it easier to pray for someone who has hurt you, is when you start to have a heart for their issue. The next thing that I would ask you to do is to say, How is this a two-way street? Okay, let's analyze me on the other end here, because I'm going to tell you probably 99.9999999% of the time, conflict is a two-way street, at least in my case. At least the times that it's reared its ugly head in my life, I've had a little bit to do with it just as much as the other person has had something to do with it. And I would ask you to sit and think about that for just a second. You know, Eric Hudson always tells me, Monique, very few people wake up evil. It's just a fact. Very few people wake up evil. And you know, many times we look at stuff and we go, we justify our actions. We have grace and mercy on ourselves. But then we look at other people and we're like, oh yeah, but no. You know what I'm saying? Like, we look at ours and we look at our intentions. Well, I didn't mean to hurt that individual. Well, that's not what I meant. I mean, you know, that was just me speaking out of my insecurity. I didn't mean to do that. But we judge other people off of their actions. Oh, well, you see what they did to me. Did you see what they did to me? Well, I'm done with them. Oh, but yeah, I know I did that. But listen, the reason why I did that was because of this. I mean, we justify our actions. And then we make them pay for their actions. Our actions are okay. Theirs, not so much. Grace and mercy on us. We don't give grace and mercy on others. So I'd ask you, it's a two-way street. What part did you play in it? And how can it be corrected? So examine yourselves. The next thing that you can do is go to the Word. Remember, going to the Word is one of the most hands down amazing things that you can do. Thy Word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Vision and direction in life is by going to the Word and asking for clarity and direction from it. And so let's look at the first one, which is John 13:34 through 35. A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Love one another. Love the person who hurts you. Love the person who hurts you. May not be easy, but the Bible asks us to do it. Matthew 22:37 through 39. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. That's if you've got the YouVersion app. That's the verse of the day today. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Oh, but there's a second. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Give your neighbor just about as much grace as you give yourself. You know, give them a little bit of, you know how you justify it with you? Well, give them a little bit of justification too. 1 John 2:9 through 10. Anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or sister is still in the darkness. It's dark. That's a dark place to be. Mr. Fredrickson was in a dark place. Anyone who loves their brother and sister lives in the light, and there is nothing in them to make them stumble. If you watch later in that Pixar movie, there's this little boy that kind of takes up with Mr. Fredrickson, and Mr. Fredrickson doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Get away from me. Oh my gosh, you're a bother. You're a bother. You're a bother. But that little boy sticks around, and as Mr. Fredrickson starts to find freedom and he realizes that Ellie really was not disappointed with him, he did not let her down. He embraces this little boy and he latches onto him and he starts kind of being this grandpa figure to him. And he is just, he is overjoyed. He is living again, right? And so he's not in the darkness. He was in a dark place, but when he began to love again, love this little boy, have a heart for this little boy, he became and he got in the light. So today, I would ask you to really sit and think long and hard, dig deep, and it may be painful. Dig those emotions back up to the surface. What are the times that you've been hurt? What are the times that you felt like you've lashed out and you've hurt someone else? Why did you do it? Why did you pull away from that relationship? Why did you lash out at that person? What are the times that you felt like you let down? Really sit and analyze those. Give it to the Lord in prayer. Remember, we don't live in condemnation. We are not going to say that those moments defined us, but we're going to learn from it, and we're going to allow those situations to make us better down the road. Finally, before we pray, I want you to look at page 98, and we're going to go through our walkout points together, okay? The very first thing that I want you to look at is the first one. It says, we mentioned studying personality types earlier in our time together. Remember on day 3 about how you were uniquely made. We talked about personality types. I'd like you to visit that again. And it's important to understand how you and others are wired. It will open your eyes to how quickly misunderstandings can take place. Remember, very few people wake up evil. The personality profile that I like to use is DISC, D-I-S-C, okay? And it's so important. You're usually 2 letters. And so I'm going to give you an example of how that goes down in my life. Conflict comes to the table whenever 2 personalities start clashing. So for instance, my personality is a D-I-I-D personality. My husband's is a D-C personality. D, we both have, which is very dominant, okay? Which is very, I am right. You need to listen to me. Let me be the leader and tell you how to do this, right? And then the I personality in me is a little bit more kind of scattered out there, a little bit more emotional feeling, to where the C in Jeremiah is a little bit more analytical, system, structure. Just come on, this has got to be right. So last night we were working on a schedule for a conference that we have in March that we're putting on. And as we were kind of line iteming every single talk of this person's talking here, having everything flow, this needs to flow into this and this flow needs to, and Jeremiah did not like how I had it structured. And I'm thinking, I have sat here for an hour and a half and this is perfect. And I don't understand why you're having to tell me that this is not right. Because are you telling me that I didn't do a good job? Because I've done a good job. You know what I'm saying? Getting a little prideful here. And so Jeremiah is saying, well, look, I think, just listen to me. I think this needs to go here, and I think you need to move this here. And after I sat and I listened, and we butted heads for a little bit, it really did make sense with what he was saying. Now, there was a time in our marriage that he would do things like that, or he would kind of critique what I did or what I said. After I hit end on these videos, my husband is very, extremely, not critical, but he analyzes what I do to make me better. Okay, so every time when I do this, I'll hear somebody walk and open the door, and I kind of cringe because he's going to tell me if that video was good or bad. Like he's going to say, I thought that was really good. Oh, okay, wait, okay, good. Or you know what? You should have tied a little bit more into this. And while he's not being mean to me, he is helping me be better. So many times in our marriage, he said things and I've blown up and I've got mad. What are you talking about? I mean, are you serious? Why are you so critical of everything that I do, Jeremiah? But that's not his heart. His heart is, if he's telling me stuff, he's really doing it because he loves me and he wants me to be better. You know, when you're working with a team, when you're working with a group of people, when you're working with others, you've got to understand how you're wired, and you've got to understand how other people are wired. They're not evil. Jeremiah is not evil. Jeremiah loves me, and he knows that I've got a heart and a mission to help other people and to connect with them through the book and through other things. When I write something, he will critique it and go, you know what, I think you need to do this here. And while it stings a little bit because it's what I did, it's my baby, it's what I worked on, it's true. He's only doing it to make me better and to hopefully for this vision and it to get to more people, or it to impact people more. Do you understand what I'm saying? Alyssa has got his same personality. She's a DC personality, and Alyssa is the exact same way. And I remember when she was a little kid, it used to drive me insane because it would get down into some deep-rooted insecurity of like, do you think I just don't, like, do you think I'm dumb? Like my kids having to tell me what to do. Mom, You know, you've got a meeting in an hour and a half. You need to go jump in the shower. I mean, your kid telling you that? And I'd be like, seriously, like, I get it, Alyssa. I'm a grown adult. I know when to take a shower. But really, that is Alyssa. She loves me. And she knows that I've got this important meeting. And Mom, you need to go take a shower. She's a leader. She's not really bossy, although she is just a little. But she's a leader, and she loves me, and she wants to help me. Mom, you know, so-and-so messaged you, and you didn't return that message. You need to message her back. Well, Alyssa, so inside my deep-rooted insecurity is, Monique, you're a failure. You didn't answer that person. Your 13, your 14, your 15-year-old kid is having to tell you what to do. Monique, you're such a loser. You're such a jerk. And it makes you want to lash out and go, Alyssa, no duh. I know that message is there. I'm going to answer it. You see what I'm saying? You lash out. Deep-rooted insecurity. But really, my child is just trying to help me. She's just trying to say, Mom, you need to answer that message. So do you see how conflict, do you see how personalities, they're not evil. They're just trying to benefit each other. It's out of love. But so many times we misunderstand it and we allow it to turn into this conflict, okay? The next thing that I want you to do is take time to pause and reflect when you are presented with something that ruffles your feathers, okay? Give yourself time to cool down. This almost always brings a better response. The day that I was writing this book on this subject, I had a little bit of conflict come to the table, or maybe the day after. And it was very fresh on my heart, and I was feeling like a complete loser that here I'm walking through conflict as I'm writing about conflict. And how can I give advice when I seriously am not doing a good job with this conflict? And Eric Hudson calls me to discuss something with the design cover of the book, and I say, I'm just gonna do a phone call. And I'm just going to address the situation. And he goes, probably need to wait a day or two, Monique. And I was fired up. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, seriously? Like, this is stinging a lot. And I want this person to know. Like, I want to tell him what I think. And he's like, probably don't need to do that, Monique. So what I want you to do is promise me to have somebody, like, take your phone away from you. Like, take the phone away from Monique right now. Hide it from her. Monique, cool down for 2 days. For 2 days. Don't say a word. Don't address it. Cool down. And then I want you, after you've thought about it and you've cooled down, then you can address it. Because you do need to address it. But not in the state that you're in right now. And so I took his advice. I cooled down and had really the most amazing conversation about something that was really not fun, and that was pointing out a whole heck of a lot of my flaws in life. You know what I'm saying? So I took one huge, massive step forward in my journey of dealing with conflict. And I was like, yes, I have done what I wrote in the book. I have mastered this situation of dealing with conflict, only for 2 weeks later to see a message come across my phone as I'm getting off of an airplane, and I am like, what? You have got to be kidding me. No. Pick up the phone call. Pick up the phone. Dial that number. Get the person on the other line. And I'm like, seriously? I mean, seriously. You've got to be kidding me. This is what you think about me? Oh, well, sister, let me give you an earful. Oh, ouch. One step forward, 2 massive steps back. I did not stop and take my own advice that I wrote. And can I tell you, it was not pretty, the attitude that I had. Okay? Can I just learn from my mistakes in life? Take a breather. A situation comes your way. Words are spoken. Stop. Pause. It will always, like every single 100% of the time, if you stop and just don't let what spews out of your mouth be the first thing that comes to your mind, I promise you it is going to be a much better response. Take it from me. Oh, don't take 2 steps back. But if you do, there's grace and mercy, and we hopefully learn from it. Number three, concealing your feelings by brushing them under the rug can be very dangerous. I'm not asking you to conceal. Don't let the Frozen song get stuck in your head. Concealing your feelings by brushing them under the rug can be very dangerous. Nasty things grow in the dark. That's what Eric Hudson tells me all the time. Monique, think about it. This is something that I'm having to work out in my life a lot. So Eric Hudson's been speaking into my life a lot on this. He says, Monique, very few people wake up evil. And he goes, think about it. You've got this big piece of plywood and you've got it laying out in your backyard and you never move it and you let it lay there and it rains and it pours and it storms and it's sunny and it's like, if you go and pick that up, like gross, scary things grow under that. And in the dark, when it's just covered up, it can get ugly, right? So they are only hidden for a while, though. The minute you snap, it's going to get ugly fast. The hard conversations that you make now will never be as painful as what happens when you snap. The quote that Eric would say, the cost of confrontation is far, the cost of concealment. Okay, sorry. Let me work through this. The cost of concealment is far greater and far reaching than the cost of confrontation. So what he is trying to say there is, Monique, it's painful for you to confront right now, okay? Like, it might be a little nasty and it might get a little ugly confronting a situation, but if you allow it to stay hidden and for it to grow and grow and grow and grow, one day it will be uncovered and one day it will be very ugly. And the cost of that being revealed is going to be way worse than this painful cost that you're going to have to make right here. You know, I had someone, Eric did that talk at an event that we put together, and I had a girl come up to me afterwards and she just said, hey, listen, Eric talked about this and I wanted to tell you that I just really feel like you don't value me. That was hard for me to hear because I did. I loved this girl a whole lot. And it actually went down and hit this part of me that is where my insecurities lie. And I sat there and I listened, and she wasn't being bad. She wasn't belittling me, or she was, honestly, she had these feelings that really, I didn't value her. And it was hard for me to hear it. And actually, when I got back in the car, because we were leaving, I like busted out crying, and I told the team, I was like, you know, I love so deeply, but this is, you know, becoming this issue. She feels this way and I don't want her to feel this way. But can I tell you, she came to me immediately right when she felt that way. And you know, we have got a fantastic relationship right now. I absolutely adore when I see a message come across from her. I love connecting her to what we're doing. She has got the most innovative ideas, and I'm very thankful and grateful for her. And it was very eye-opening for me to see that she felt that way. And while it was also very important for people to feel needed and to feel like they belonged and that they were a part of something. And while that was hard for me to hear, it was a hard conversation probably for her to bring to me. And it was just while it was hard for her to bring to me, it was also hard for me to hear. We have very much got a thriving relationship right now. We really do. And good things have come from it. And I do love her deeply. And I believe she loves me deeply as well. But can I tell you, if she would have let that remain hidden and not brought it to the surface and had a painful conversation that we both needed to go through and hear, do you understand how that could have gotten ugly really fast? A lot of times when we keep things hidden, it just builds and builds, and then we're constantly watching for that next thing, and oh yeah, just to validate why we feel that way, right? And it just doesn't work. So I would ask you, make sure that you are understanding how people are wired. Make sure that you're giving yourself time to cool down, and make sure that you're not brushing things under the rug, okay? Because that is where dangerous things, nasty things begin to grow. Okay, let's pray, you guys, and then we're gonna kind of talk about what we're gonna discuss tomorrow. All right? I love you guys. I really do. I really do love you. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you yet again for another day that these guys just keep coming back and devoting time to you. Lord, today's topic is, it's one that cuts deep. It's one that maybe brings up some emotional issues, scars, times that we've really been hurt in life. But Lord, you know, part of handing it over to you is really beginning to seeing others through your eyes. So Lord, let us turn that hurt and that bitterness and that anger to really prayers for, Lord, give me understanding, grace, and mercy, a heart for this other person. Lord, may we judge other people the way we judge ourselves. May we give other people grace and mercy like we are all about giving ourselves. May we see the things that they do and maybe justify it a little bit. Oh, okay, I understand. Help us through that, Lord. That's just not, it's not a natural response for us to have. And we know that you can bring that to light. I thank you, Jesus, for everybody who is devoting this time to you. Walk with them. Be that friend that sticks so close to them as they walk out these stages of growth and being intentional in their life. The times where people may feel as if they have let other people down, Lord, open their eyes to where it's probably just not as bad as what they think it is. Show them, Lord, that they're enough. They're enough. That your mercies are new every single morning. It's a new day. That you don't judge based on past actions. Lord, just help people walk in that peace and contentment that only you can bring. I love you, Jesus. Help my friends that are watching this today have the most amazing day ever. Give them wisdom and revelation and discernment. Wisdom way beyond their years, Lord. In your name, amen. Well, guys, day 13 is in the books. Surviving conflict. We're going to have to revisit it often, probably, but that's okay. We're going to grow. And remember, don't be defeated. You know, take one step forward, and sometimes you take 2 steps back, but then the 2 steps back, you learn from it, and you go, oh, yeah, okay, that's the reason why I don't need to go there. Well, tomorrow is day 14, and we are going to be talking about fighting for your family. You guys, we can find success in business and in life, but let's not neglect our family along the way. Let's embrace our family. Let's get them involved, all right? I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.